Ferris sat at his computer anxiously. Yesterday's session had really freaked him out. Jay and Gab, as far as he could tell, hadn't sensed anything off, or at the very least they had brushed off Dan's odd behavior. But Ferris couldn't shake the gut feeling that something had happened to Dan. He didn't know what it was, but it had to have been something either big or terrifying to leave Dan as shaken as he was. Dan had been trying to hide it, but Ferris knew better. So he sat at the computer next to Jay as he waited for Dan and Gab to join the call. Just a couple minutes before they were supposed to start, Gab finally joined the call. Ferris found it odd that Dan wasn't here yet, but Gab didn't seem too worried, so Ferris told himself that he wasn't going to be either. Not unless he had a reason to be. But 10 minutes passed by, and Dan still wasn't in the call yet. Despite his best attempts to stay calm, Ferris was growing concerned. Dan was never this late, especially not to his own stream, not without sending them a message first. But he hadn't said anything on Discord since this morning, when he sent an enthusiastic message asking them if they wanted any more mods installed. Finally, Ferris decided to say something. "Hey, Gab? Where's Dan?" Gab stopped halfway through the joke he was telling. "Oh, I don't know. He'd gone out to the store or something earlier." Ferris got a hollow pit in his stomach when Gab said that, but he didn't know why. How long ago was that? Gab seemed to think about it. A few hours ago, I think? Maybe? Now Jay was asking questions. Wait. He went to the store a few hours ago and you didn't notice he wasn't back until now? Gab tried to defend himself. Look man, I was hungry, okay? I need to go feed myself. Are you sure he went to the store? Ferris interjected. I think so. He kind of left like he was in a hurry, and he was mumbling to himself. He knocked over the bowl of keys when he left too. I had to pick it up. The hollow pit in Ferris' stomach grew. None of this sounded good at all. This didn't sound like Dan, and there was no way he'd been at the store for hours. Apparently, Jay was thinking the same thing. Did you notice anything else weird? There was silence for a moment as Gab thought. Oh, well, he left chat behind. I figured he wanted to shop in peace, but he left them hooked up to his computer. That, Ferris knew, was very odd. As annoying as the drone that followed Dan around could be, Dan loved them. Sure, it was possible that Dan would just leave them on his desk for a quick store run, but he'd been gone for hours now. Oh, Gab added quickly, and there was this weird text file open on his computer when I walked by. I couldn't make sense of any of it. Can you send it to us? Jay asked. Ferris was relieved that he was just as concerned about this situation. Within minutes, Gab had sent the file into their chat. Ferris stared at it, reading it over and over. At first, it seemed like random sentences, just written down. But the more that Ferris stared at them, the more he could start to see the pieces of a puzzle. A complicated, terrifying puzzle. What the hell does this mean? Jay asked, sounding a bit frustrated. It's just random nonsense. Look at this. I thrive on the chaos and you will soon see its value. You like playing games and I know of a fun one to play. The dark can show you the way. What is any of that supposed to mean? Are we sure Dan didn't just lose his mind? But Ferris stared at it a moment longer. There was something else to this. He just knew it. And then he saw it. No, he said quietly. Look closer. It's one half of a conversation. See, you never answered my question. Then, do you want to have fun with us? That must be the question. And then the next line. You don't need to know who I am, only the plans I have for you. I still don't see how that's a conversation, Jay said. Think back to yesterday, Ferris said, remembering Dan's odd behavior. Remember when he said he'd heard a ringing in his ears? I saw him looking around, like he was looking for something. Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything here? Gab asked, sounding worried. Think about it. What if he was hearing something? Or someone? It would explain why he was looking around like that. What if he was looking for the source of a voice? And this text, it seems to be talking to him. What if the voice he heard is the same as the person behind these lines of text? The third line would make a lot more sense if he didn't know who was talking to him. Jay and Gab fell silent as they pored over the lines of text again, reading them in this new light. Finally, Jay sat back, astounded. God, you're right. The whole thing makes sense as someone speaking to me. But these lines, if you're right, then he could be in danger. Look at some of these. Give in to the insanity. You'll feel better when this is over. Don't resist, just let me in. I am everything you need. Ferris nodded. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And the fact that no one has seen him in hours? Jay nodded grimly in agreement. So he's missing, and whoever wrote this is behind it. But where is he? Gab asked, definitely worried now. Ferris pored over the text again, trying to find some hint to where this mysterious person could have led Dan. Look, he said, eyeing a line he'd passed over before. Your true purpose waits deep below the earth, avoided by many, known by few. That's gotta be it. But where is that? Gab huffed. Jay and Ferris looked at each other. Ferris knew they were thinking the exact same thing. There was only one place that fit that description. The underground subway system, Ferris muttered. Jay nodded darkly. Where? Gab asked them. You know that alleyway next to the tower, opposite of where Grizzco is? Jay exclaimed. There's an old abandoned subway system. Only a few people know what's really down there. It's the home turf of an Octoling gang. Same gang I'm in. Ferris knew that Jay was taking a huge risk revealing that, and Gab's shocked silence spoke volumes. Jay, he finally said, stunned. You're in a gang? We can worry about that later, Ferris interjected. Right now, we need to help Dan. Gab, meet me and Jay outside of our apartment. Grab your roller just in case. We'll show you the way there. He hung up the call and walked to the bedroom to grab his dualies. Jay followed closer behind him, grabbing his splatter's coat. Ferris turned to him, speaking quietly. Do you think anyone in the gang would have done this? He knew those Octolings could be dangerous, but this seemed far from anything they'd do. Jay shook his head. I don't know. It doesn't fit, but why else would he be led there? None of this makes any sense. I just hope we can find him in time. I'm sure we will, Jay, Ferris said, trying to stay positive. Dan was their best friend. He had to be okay. He walked with Jay to the front door where Gab stood waiting. They were going to save Dan, no matter what.